I couldn't sleep. Haven't been able to for 3 weeks now. Every time I close my eyes, I see those messages lighting up Mark's phone screen at 2:47 a.m. Can't wait to feel your hands on me again. That's what she wrote. And my husband of 12 years, he smiled when he read it. You want to know what betrayal really feels like? It's not the dramatic movie moment where you catch them in bed. It's smaller. Quieter. It's watching the man you've built a life with lie to your face about a work emergency while his phone buzzes with heart emojis from someone named Amber. I'm Lisa. 42 years old, elementary school teacher, mother of 2 beautiful kids who still believe their daddy hung the moon. 3 weeks ago, I thought I knew exactly who I was. The supportive wife. The one who packed his lunches and ironed his shirts and never questioned why he suddenly needed to work late 3 nights a week. That phone lit up while he was in the shower. I wasn't snooping, not really. It was just sitting there on our nightstand, and the screen kept flashing. Message after message. My finger moved before my brain could stop it. Missing you already, baby. When can we get away again? Your wife doesn't deserve you. I sat there in our bedroom, in the house we'd saved 5 years to buy, staring at words that rewrote my entire existence in 30 seconds. The room felt like it was tilting. Our wedding photo on the dresser seemed to mock me. That young woman in white had no idea what was coming. Mark emerged from the bathroom, humming some tune, towel around his waist. Same routine for years. But now I was seeing him with different eyes. The careful way he positioned his phone face down. How he'd started showering immediately when he got home. The new cologne I'd complimented him on just last month. Who's Amber? I asked. His face. God, I'll never forget his face. For just a split second, pure panic flashed across his features. Then the mask slid back into place. Amber? Oh, she's just a colleague. Why? She seems very friendly for a colleague. Mark's jaw tightened. He grabbed his phone, checking the messages. I watched him scroll, calculating. Always calculating. That's when I realized this wasn't his first rodeo. This was practiced. Rehearsed. Lisa, you went through my phone? His voice shifted into that tone. The one that made me feel small. Unreasonable. Crazy. That's a violation of privacy. I can't believe you'd cheat on me. Cheat? He laughed. Actually laughed. Honey, you're being paranoid. Amber's on my sales team. We text about work stuff. Sometimes she gets a little unprofessional. But I've never encouraged it. He moved toward me, hands up like he was approaching a spooked horse. Look, I get why you might misinterpret. Misinterpret? Mark, she texted about your hands on her body. She's going through a rough divorce. She probably had a few drinks and got inappropriate. I'll talk to her tomorrow about maintaining boundaries. The thing about gaslighting is how smooth it feels going down. How reasonable it sounds. How it makes you question your own eyes, your own sanity. For a moment, standing there in our familiar bedroom, I almost believed him. Almost. But then I remembered what my grandmother used to say, trust your gut, sweetheart. It never lies to you. Only people do. Grandma Rose raised me after my parents died when I was 15. She'd been married to my grandfather for 47 years, and she had this way of seeing through people's nonsense that was almost supernatural. She'd squeeze my hand whenever I doubted myself and say, your instincts are your guardian angels. Don't ignore them. That night, lying next to Mark while he slept peacefully, I felt those guardian angels screaming. The next few days were torture. Mark played the part of the misunderstood husband perfectly. He brought me coffee in bed. Complimented my hair. Made jokes about me being his jealous wife in front of the kids. But his phone became Fort Knox. New password. Face down constantly. He even started taking it to the bathroom with him. When I asked about it, he sighed dramatically. Lisa, this paranoia has to stop. I changed my password because I realized leaving my work emails accessible wasn't professional. I could get in trouble if confidential information got out. Always an explanation. Always reasonable on the surface. Always designed to make me feel foolish for asking. But I wasn't foolish. I was a woman whose entire world had shifted, and I needed answers. That's when I remembered my friend Sarah mentioning her sister's divorce. How she'd hired a private investigator. At the time, it seemed so extreme, so Hollywood. Now it felt like my only option. I found Jackson Miles online. Former police detective, 20 years of experience, and a face that belonged in a noir film. His office was above a deli in downtown, and it smelled like pastrami and desperation. Mrs. Harper, he said, gesturing to a worn leather chair. Tell me why you're here. I told him everything. The messages. The gaslighting. The way Mark's entire routine had changed over the past few months. How he'd started going to the gym at odd hours. How our intimate life had shifted. He was there physically, but emotionally, he'd checked out. Jackson listened without judgment, taking notes in a small leather notebook. When I finished, he leaned back in his chair. How long have you been married? 12 years next month. Kids? 2. Emma's 9, Tyler's 6. He nodded slowly. Mrs. Harper, in my experience, when someone's gut tells them something's wrong, they're usually right. But you need to be prepared for what we might find. Sometimes the truth is worse than the suspicion. I need to know. One way or another, I need to know. That was Tuesday. By Thursday, Jackson called. We need to meet. Not over the phone. His voice was different. Grimmer. My hands shook as I drove to his office after work, making excuses to Mark about a faculty meeting. Jackson had photos spread across his desk when I walked in. My husband entering a hotel. My husband with his arm around a blonde woman. My husband kissing that same woman in what appeared to be an apartment I'd never seen. There's more, Jackson said gently. The apartment, it turned out, was Mark's. A one-bedroom place downtown he'd been renting for 8 months. 8 months. While I was clipping coupons and worrying about our mortgage, he was maintaining a second residence. The woman is Amber Martinez. 28 years old, works at his company but not on his team. They've been seeing each other for about a year. A year. While I was celebrating our 11-year anniversary with dinner at Olive Garden, he was already deep into an affair. There's something else, Jackson continued. And this is where it gets complicated. He showed me more photos. Amber meeting with another man. Someone older, expensively dressed. They were in what looked like an intense conversation. I ran the plates on his car. Guy named Vincent Romano. He's got a record. Extortion, mostly. White-collar stuff. My blood went cold. What does that mean? I think your husband's girlfriend is planning to blackmail him. Or maybe she already is. The timing suggests she found out about you and decided to cash in rather than play the long game. I stared at the photos until they blurred. My marriage wasn't just over. It was a crime scene. What do I do now? Jackson closed the folder. That's up to you. But whatever you decide, decide fast. These situations tend to escalate quickly. I drove home in a daze. Mark was in the living room, helping Tyler with homework while Emma practiced piano. The picture of domestic bliss. Our life looked so normal from the outside. So perfect. How was the faculty meeting? He asked without looking up. Enlightening. That night, I lay awake planning. Grandma Rose always said the best revenge was living well, but she'd never dealt with someone who'd stolen a year of her life while planning to financially ruin her family. Friday morning, Mark announced he had to work late again. "Big presentation next week," he said, kissing my forehead. "I'll probably be home around 10. I smiled and packed his lunch like always. "Good luck, honey." As soon as he left, I called Jackson. "I want to know everything. The apartment, the money, all of it. And I want proof. Mrs. Harper. Lisa. And I'm done being the fool in this equation." Jackson worked fast. By Sunday, I had a complete picture of my husband's double life. The apartment cost $1,800 a month. He'd been siphoning money from our joint savings, disguising it as work expenses and client dinners. Over 8 months, he'd stolen nearly $15,000 from our family budget. But the real kicker? Amber Martinez wasn't just some lovesick mistress. She was pregnant. And she wanted $50,000 to keep quiet about it. Jackson had recordings. Photos of envelopes changing hands. Mark frantically searching through our financial records, probably trying to figure out how to get that kind of money without me noticing. The irony was almost funny. My cheating husband was being blackmailed by his pregnant mistress, who was working with a career criminal to bleed him dry. Meanwhile, I was supposed to smile and pack his lunches while our life savings disappeared. But the pregnancy, that changed everything. This wasn't just about Mark's betrayal anymore. There was going to be a child. A half-sibling to Emma and Tyler, whether I stayed in this marriage or not. Monday night, Mark came home with flowers. Grocery store roses, the kind you grab when you're feeling guilty. He'd been buying them every few days lately. "What's the occasion?" I asked. "Do I need an occasion to buy my beautiful wife flowers?" 3 weeks ago, those words would have made me blush. Now they made my skin crawl. "Mark, we need to talk." His face went pale. "About what?" I pulled out the manila envelope Jackson had given me. Photos, financial records, phone records. A year's worth of lies documented in neat, professional detail. About Amber. About the apartment. About the baby. Mark's knees actually buckled. He grabbed the kitchen counter for support, staring at the evidence spread across our breakfast table. The same table where we'd shared thousands of meals, where our kids did homework, where we'd planned our future. "Lisa, I can explain." "No." My voice was steadier than I expected. "You can't. There's no explanation for this. For any of this." He tried anyway. Of course he did. It started as an innocent friendship. Amber pursued him. He never meant for it to go this far. He was going to tell me. He loved me. He loved our family. All lies, and we both knew it. "She's blackmailing you," I said. That stopped him cold. "How do you?" "I know everything, Mark. The money you've been stealing. The apartment. The pregnancy. Vincent Romano. All of it." He sank into a chair, head in his hands. "She wasn't supposed to get pregnant. She said she was on birth control." "So you were planning to keep the affair going indefinitely?" "No. I was going to end it. I swear, I was going to end it after Christmas." "Christmas? Which Christmas, Mark?" "This was going on last Christmas too." The fight that followed was ugly. 12 years of marriage reduced to accusations and recriminations. He called me controlling, suspicious, impossible to live with. I called him a liar, a thief, and a coward. But through it all, one thing became crystal clear: he wasn't sorry he'd done it. He was sorry he'd been caught. Tuesday morning, Mark left for work like nothing had happened. He actually kissed my cheek and asked what was for dinner. The audacity was breathtaking. I spent that day making calls. Divorce lawyer. Accountant. school counselor to discuss how to tell the kids. Each conversation felt like another nail in the coffin of my old life. But I also made one more call. Jackson? I want to meet with Amber Martinez. Lisa, I don't think that's a good idea. I need to see her. I need to understand what we're dealing with here. Jackson arranged it for Wednesday afternoon. A coffee shop downtown, neutral territory. Amber was already there when I arrived, and I was struck by how young she looked. Pretty in that Instagram way, all highlights and contour. She was showing, but just barely. "You're Lisa," she said. It wasn't a question. "And you're the woman destroying my family." She laughed, but it was bitter. "Your husband destroyed your family. I just participated." We sat in silence for a moment. Two women bound together by one man's selfishness. "He told me you were basically roommates," Amber said finally. "That you hadn't been intimate in years. That you were staying together for the kids but living separate lives. We had sex 2 weeks ago." Her face crumpled. He said you didn't love him anymore." "I loved him enough to iron his shirts while he was texting you about your body." Amber started crying then. Ugly, honest tears that smeared her makeup. "I'm 28 years old. I wanted a family. A real relationship. He kept saying he was going to leave you, that we'd be together properly once Tyler started middle school. Tyler's 6. I know that now. We talked for an hour. Amber told me about the apartment, how Mark had convinced her it was temporary. How he'd promised to introduce her to his kids when the time was right. How she'd believed every lie because she'd wanted to believe them. The blackmail scheme, she insisted, was Vincent's idea. Her cousin, apparently, who'd convinced her that Mark owed her something for wasting a year of her life. "I never wanted to hurt you," she said. "I didn't even know you were real at first. He made you sound like an obligation. Not a person." I believed her, which surprised me. She was young and stupid and in love with a man who'd never existed except in his lies to her. "What do you want from me?" I asked. "I don't know. I thought, maybe if we talked, we could figure something out. For the baby's sake." The baby. Always came back to the baby. That night, I sat Mark down again. This time, I had a proposal. "I met with Amber today." His face went white. "You what?" "She's young and scared and pregnant with your child. And you've been lying to both of us." "Lisa, please. Here's what's going to happen. You're going to call off Vincent Romano. You're going to take responsibility for this baby financially. And you're going to sign whatever divorce papers my lawyer draws up without contest. You can't be serious. Dead serious. And in exchange, I won't press charges for the theft. I won't make this public. I won't tell Emma and Tyler the real reason Daddy moved out." Mark stared at me like I'd grown a second head. "You're blackmailing me. I'm offering you a choice. Take responsibility like an adult, or face the consequences of your actions. Criminal charges, public humiliation, a custody battle where all of this comes out. What about us? What about our marriage?" I looked at this man I'd loved for 12 years, this stranger who'd been living in my house, eating my food, sleeping in my bed while maintaining an entirely separate life. "There is no us, Mark. There hasn't been for a year. I just didn't know it." He chose the easy path, as I knew he would. Signed the papers. Moved out quietly. Told the kids he needed space to figure things out. Let them think it was mutual, temporary, salvageable. The divorce was final 6 months later. Mark pays child support and alimony, though less than he should given what he stole. Amber had a baby girl in February. Mark sees her sometimes, plays house with his new family in a different apartment across town. Emma and Tyler know they have a half-sister now. They're confused but adjusting. Kids are resilient in ways adults never are. As for me, I'm learning to sleep again. Learning to trust my instincts. Learning that sometimes the end of one story is just the beginning of another. I kept Grandma Rose's engagement ring, the one I'd planned to pass down to Emma someday. It sits on my dresser now, catching light from the window, reminding me that love should be simple. Honest. Real. Not everyone gets a Hollywood ending. Sometimes the best you can do is survive with your dignity intact and your children safe. Sometimes that's enough. 3 months ago, I ran into Amber at the grocery store. She had the baby with her, a tiny thing with Mark's eyes and her stubborn chin. We nodded politely, like distant acquaintances. Two women who'd shared a man's lies but found our own truths. I don't hate her anymore. I don't hate Mark either, though I don't love him. What I feel is something harder to name. Relief, maybe. Clarity. The satisfaction of knowing I trusted my instincts and acted on them instead of letting fear make my choices for me. The kids ask sometimes when Daddy's coming home. I tell them he's not, but that doesn't mean he doesn't love them. It's a complicated truth for young minds, but it's still the truth. And after a year of lies, truth feels like luxury. People ask if I'm dating. Not yet. Maybe not for a while. I'm rediscovering who I am without Mark's needs defining my days. It's terrifying and exhilarating and sometimes lonely as hell. But it's mine. My life, my choices, my future. No one can take that away from me again. Grandma Rose used to say that every ending is a door to a new beginning. She was right about that, like she was right about trusting your gut. The door to my old life is closed, locked, and I threw away the key. What's on the other side is still being written. And this time, I'm holding the pen. Hit subscribe if you've ever had to rebuild your life from the ground up.